So I was walking through my Value Village the other day, which is my local thrift store, and I found a large amount of these D-cell flashlights being donated. I really like these D-cell flashlights because they're very simple and very reliable, but I also think that they are very robust and inefficient when it comes to power consumption and light output. As we can see here, the flashlight is pretty bright, but it could be a lot brighter. So I went to the grocery store and I bought a 4-pack of D-cell batteries for $10.99. These are some very expensive batteries. These batteries I found in the flashlight at Value Village were apparently produced in 2011, so it came as a surprise to me that they still worked. As we can see right here, the flashlight is now quite a bit brighter than before. My first observation was cost of operation. These D-cell batteries are very expensive, and in all honesty, they don't last very long. So it's very costly to use these flashlights, so I wanted to eliminate that cost. My second observation would be regarding the output and efficiency of these D-cell flashlights. They're pretty powerful and pretty bright, but they could be a lot brighter, seeing as they're using xenon bulbs instead of LEDs. As far as sustainability goes, dry cells aren't the worst for the environment. They're easily recyclable, though most people, instead of recycling them, will just throw them away. So they're not actually that great for the environment compared to lithium-ion batteries, which are a lot denser and they provide more power and they're more efficient. So I had an idea to change these flashlights to be lithium-ion powered. Now that we figure out the cons of these lights, let's figure out a way to counter these cons. Now let's say that this is our flashlight, right? So up front we have this mirror cap, and then it goes flat because of the bulb, and then from the bulb back it has a positive terminal, and then from that positive terminal there would normally be 2 batteries in parallel. And then at the back of this, these batteries aren't to scale, obviously, they'd be a lot bigger. You have this coil, this spring, that makes connection with the negative. And from that spring, there's a big, long copper line, goes all the way up near the top here. It has an overlapping piece of metal right here, right? And this side is always connected. This side right here. Now, when you flip the switch, which is right here, right? When you flip the switch back and forth, it moves this top piece of metal back and forth. And this metal is conductive. And when it touches this cone lid, right, because it's conductive, it acts to complete the circuit. What I plan to do, right, is take the flashlight again. Same analogy as before. Okay, so we got this coil on the back. This acts as our negative. So I'll put the negative down there. We've got our switch. And then we've got our cone reflector. Right? And then we're gonna have like a little LED diode up here. I'm going to rework the bulb and I'm going to custom fabricate an LED bulb for this flashlight. And you have this little positive and receiver piece, and that is going to have a resistor connected to it. Okay, this is our resistor. It's going to come back and it's going to interact with our charging board. And our charging board is what is going to recharge our lithium-ion battery. And from here, right, you got it hooked up to the negative. And then there's going to be two leads that connect the charger to a big old chunky lithium-ion cell. And that lithium-ion cell is going to power this whole thing. See, with most flashlight modifications, they aren't this style of flashlight where it has this sliding connector piece, right, for the switch. So we're gonna have to make it work in this orientation. And in order to do that, we are going to have to make this all into one circuit, and we're not going to be able to remove any of these components from the circuit. To complete this project, you're going to need a few things. First, you're going to need a flashlight to use. Second, you're going to need 2 spools of wire, one for positive and one for negative, along with a lot of 3.3 ohm resistors, an 18650 battery, an 8mm capacitor, an LED, a charging board, as well as some heat shrinks. You're also going to want to get those pliers or some wire cutters. You're going to also want to have a solder iron because there's going to be a lot of soldering involved, and some duct tape will help as well, a lighter for your heat shrinks, some solder, as well as a pair of pliers because stuff will get very hot when you're holding on to it while you're soldering. As we can see at the bottom of this bulb, we have a soldered point, and then on the side, we have another soldered point. The bottom point is for positive, and then the second point on the side is for negative. Removing my bulb from the housing proved to be quite difficult. And I was definitely a little disappointed when my first bulb kind of fell into pieces. What had gone wrong was that I got the plastic part surrounding the solder point too hot. So next time I disassembled the bulb more carefully and it went just fine. And I finally removed the bulb. Though there was a lot of yellow adhesive that I would have to get rid of before I could do anything with this bulb. What I'm going to do here is called the capacitor test. And it's just to make sure that the 8mm capacitor can fit inside of the bulb housing. This ended up being a huge mess, so I just decided to spend a little time cleaning up. So now that I had the bulb housing completely ready to go, it was time to start creating the bulb itself. Here we have our 8mm capacitor, which we would need to strip completely so it could fit inside of the bulb housing. Gutting meant taking everything out of the inside of the capacitor as well, so I decided to do that. Now that everything was out, it was time to remove the outside wrapping of the capacitor. And now the capacitor was completely naked of any components. Your capacitor should fit within your bulb housing. Now you want to poke a small hole inside of your capacitor. You will be passing the wire from the positive terminal on your LED through the capacitor using this hole. For me, I always like to use red as the positive wire, but seeing as you usually will have the choice between black and red, you can choose whatever you like. Once it's passed through, it should have some excess on either side, and it should look like a macaroni elbow. Just a little tip for when you're positioning the LED, you should always make sure that the wire coming up through the middle of the capacitor is touching on that positive receiver on the LED. And now we solder them together. And now that we're done there, we're going to wire that negative terminal. Just a quick pro tip for when you're stripping wire and you don't have actual wire strippers. Just cut all around the sides of the wire you're trying to strip and then peel off the rubber protector. And now we are going to solder the positive terminal on the bottom of the bulb. Now you are going to solder one of your 3.3 ohm resistors to the positive terminal on the bulb holder. Here we're just making a little mock-up to make sure that the circuit in full completely works. With the starting of assembly, you're going to want to solder both a positive wire to the positive end of your 18650 or other lithium-ion battery. Then you're going to solder a negative wire to the negative end of your lithium-ion battery of choice. And in the end, it should look something like this. You're going to want to wire your positive terminal to your out plus. Then you're gonna solder your negative wire to your out negative. Now that that's completed, you're going to want to solder your negative wire to the negative terminal on your flashlight, which should be the switch mechanism. Now that you're done with that, you're going to want to wire your battery's negative wire to B minus. And after that, wire your positive end to battery positive, or plus. And now that all that's done and everything should be assembled, feel free to orient your flashlight and its internals however you would like. This is how mine was oriented, though yours may look different. And finally, all we have to do is solder in our positive. If only it was that easy. The plastic ended up getting too hot, and I completely ruined the positive receiving end of my flashlight. But that's why we always improvise. I also happened to buy another flashlight at Value Village for $4.99. It was also a D-cell flashlight, but the mechanism was a little different. So what I'm doing now is taking all of the internals back out of my flashlight, which was not the most pleasurable, and I'm desoldering the negative, and I'm doing some quick repairs. And then I'm going to put it all back in my new donor flashlight. And now I'm resoldering my positive end and my negative end. And it works. Here's a quick before of the new D cells, and then here's it with a LED and an 18650. Thank you for watching. Please make sure to like and subscribe, and have a wonderful day.